Welcome, all ye delightful humans, to the Nerdist Podcast number 47. All right, couple quick announcements first right out of the gate. The Nerdist Podcast Live will be happening December 15th at Meltdown Comics in Los Angeles. And that's an all stand-up comedy show. It's about 7 or 8 comics that you should know about. And if you already know about them, then you will be delighted when you see who they are. People like Matt Bronger and Kyle Kinane and the Nerdist Podcast's own Jonah Ray, Kumail Nanjiani, some really phenomenal talent. And you can come see that, and then, of course, we will post it as a podcast. Details are at Nerdist.com. Follow the link on there to get your tickets. Also, the Nerdist Podcast t-shirts are here for pre-order. They'll be shipped out mid-December, so order now, because we're only going to do a limited run this time around. Details for that are also at Nerdist.com, conveniently. And finally, I will be ending this episode with a song by the band Sniper, the 1980s glam rock band Sniper. You might remember them from episode 9 with Mike Shinoda, and their Go For It style tune, Go For It. Now they've released a Christmas song, All I Want For Christmas Is To Rock. And if you go on to ComedyDeathRay.com, you can get that on the Comedy Death Ray 2010 Christmas CD. All the proceeds for that go to benefit the LA Regional Food Bank, so you can either get a physical copy of the disc or you can download the entire album as well. Tons of great comics doing Christmas-themed music. It is awesome. All right, now, episode number 47, The Return of Adam Carolla. Our very first guest ever to be on more than once. And if you don't count Matt or E or Jonah or that time that Adam Savage came on to the Craig Ferguson podcast, then he is the only person to ever come on the podcast more than once who was not us or Janet Varney.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So here it is, the Nerdist Podcast number 47 with Adam Carolla.
Now entering Nerdist.com.
Why? When? Aren't we supposed to have the orbits, girl?
Because we can't put them in finance.
Well, I guess, but shouldn't they be on the fucking roof with
How is he? Does he need to get closer on the mic?
Test 1, 2.
So the story that you guys missed.
I love just the punchlines of stories.
I think I pieced it together.
Yeah.
Well, there's a guy who works downstairs at the Comcast building, and I always just assumed he was a quiet guy. Because he's never, like, even if you're like, how's it going? He just won't talk to you. And apparently, Carolla was supposed to do the soup the other day, and because he didn't have a contact name, the guy just made him sit there. And he Yeah. And Adam was just like, well, I'm just going to go, so you can just tell them. He waited for like an hour. And the guy, because Adam didn't have a contact name, Adam just left and ended up not doing this.
But here's what I want to say to all the fat-ass thalidomide babies who've been soaked in retard pudding, who we decide, and it's not their fault.
Are we still soaking babies in retard pudding?
Yes, we are. Well, around the holidays.
I thought that stopped in the 70s.
Figgy pudding out, retard pudding.
All right.
I thought that went the way of Four Loko.
It's not their fault. They're the dumb guys you went to high school with. They're the guys who couldn't cut the curriculum at junior college. They're the guys who should be having a rope where a belt would be on their pants. Who starts a company and says, this is the face of the network, meaning you may see Seacrest on TV, but if you come down here, the first face you're going to see is this bloated, shaved head that looks like he got cut from a JV nose tackle position in junior high. And these guys aren't, men of few words because they're tough or cool. They're men of few words because they know 5 words.
Gotcha.
And they do that thing where it's like no eye contact, just who are you here to see? And I don't know. Okay. But here's what I want to say to all these assholes who either work the security thing or the guard shack or whatever. What is your fantasy? What is your fantasy? When I drive onto the lot and I go, hey, I'm here to see Jimmy Kimmel on Win Ben Stein's Money, and they go, what's your name?
That show's been canceled for years.
Yeah. No, they go, he sounded a little like Toucan Sam when he said that, a little bit. No,
my nose!
When I used to, it always knows.
Come to to Jimmy Kimmel's Fruitland Paradise.
I went there. When I used to go there years ago, I would just pull up to the guard shack and I'd go, so it should be a pass for Adam Carolla. I'm seeing Jimmy Kimmel. And the guy would, first off, the guy was not Evelyn Wood. Like, he would look at that thing for an eighth of a second, that clipboard, and go, no, you're not on. And it's like, first off, I didn't see any finger dragging. I didn't smell any gear oil burning or anything. Like, no. But again, what is the fantasy that I'm going to go, like, all right, I had a lunch scheduled with Jimmy Kimmel on the Paramount lot, but, forget about that. I'm heading home.
Right.
Like, what is when they just go, no, because the initial answer is always no. Like,
Sure.
yeah, I'm supposed to go see Chris Hardwick here. I'm supposed to do that. I'm supposed to go do the soup. But the answer is always no. Is the fantasy, well, all right, you caught me. I'll take off my explosive vest and just slink home.
once.
Like,
They're
I want
saying
that
what
to
they
happen.
wish they could have said to the job offer. No.
Right.
Well, it's because E is like a nightclub. You got Kardashians everywhere. You got a lot of hair products.
The PA's here dressed in high heels.
There's fancy,
They do.
futuristic-looking chairs out there, and so the receptionists are basically bouncers. They have they've basically put bouncers at the phones.
I should have offered to blow him.
That's what you should have done behind the velvet rope. You should have offered to do that. All right, let's get this done. I need to go be on the soup.
Bouncers
Not
at the
saying I did that,
phones
but I'm in
is
here.
one of the worst Crichton novels I ever read.
That was not a good
Not a good
novel
read
at all.
Hank should have never made that movie.
I don't know why, but he's so likable. It's so likable watching him blow bouncers to get into clubs.
Yeah, they should have
Hanks
never
can
made
do
that one
anything.
into a movie.
Tom Hanks can do anything. This is Nerds Podcast, of course. We're here with Matt Meyer and Jonah Ray. The return of Adam Carolla.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I am.
You're the first repeat guest that
he
we've
is.
had.
Oh, thanks. And the reason I keep saying yeah, I am and yeah, he is, that's the only white slang we have. And
Affirmative.
And it's gone away. Like, yeah, it is. Like, when someone goes, damn, it's hot, all we have is it's hella hot.
Yep.
And yeah, it is.
Well, if you're in Orange County.
If you're white, that's all we have. And I feel like it's gone away.
Yeah.
And we need, as white people, we need to keep that going.
I agree. We need the Caucasian amen. I
So-
think it should be affirmative.
I'm glad, though, it's like, because it was getting close to being that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it
which
was.
I hate
So I
that's
did
what I'm
that.
talking about.
Yeah, yeah, it was. I mean, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not. I mean, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
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 Or back like when I was working at record stores, like this was like apparent in a couple record stores I worked at. It was like, yeah, I'll give you that. That was always like the snobby record store guy. Yeah, I'll give you that. This kind of sounds like that. Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah, I'll give that to you. I'll let you have that
I'll
one.
let you have that
Really?
one.
So
But I'll
on
be
your,
back.
on your personal douchebag scorecard, I'm affirmed by you in that?
Yeah, sure,
that-
sure, take that home.
Bringing it full circle to the
Sure,
ass
throw on some
wipe
bread.
in the
Throw that on some toast.
photo mat with the air conditioner mount on the side of it. At the gate, that is, eventually when the guy picks up the phone and calls Win Ben Stein's money and figures out that I can be allowed to get on the lot to have my lunch with Kimmel, it's never, sorry for my mistake, sir. It's like, you won that round, my friend. But do not worry. There'll be other lots and other days that you'll try to get on, and I'll be there.
To be shaken.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had that happen so many times because what happens when you're a minor celebrity is that people recognize you, but a lot of times they don't know where they know you from.
Yeah.
And so when you're on a list for something, you can't really play the "Do you know who I am" card because the answer is always going to be no. But a lot of times, like if a bouncer, someone just says like, "Hey man, I'm just doing my job," I always want to say, "Well, no, you're not, because I'm supposed to be in there.
Right.
I'm on your list if you'd look at it. So you're not doing your job. You're just being a cock."
And your job is to prevent certain people from getting on the lot, but not to keep all people from getting onto this said lot.
You realize this is not your fortress,
right.
right?
That's
Guy
they
at
act
the
like.
castle gates.
Yeah.
This is not your personal fortress.
Also, I'm not going to rape your 13-year-old daughter. The worst I'm going to do is have lunch with some guy on this lot.
While
What's the big
fingering
deal?
your
Finger
That's right.
banging.
I'm not gonna. Oh, finger banging.
Finger-
Sure, I'll give you that.
I like finger
I mean, I'll
blast better.
Finger blasting is
Finger
also
blast. Finger
acceptable.
puppets.
Ooh,
Finger
that's
puppets
nice.
is fun.
Yeah, it
Play
is.
finger puppets. Yeah, it is.
It's hella good.
Affirmative.
Yeah.
Hella good. No one, until No Doubt brought that into the cultural vernacular, that was isolated to Orange County. Hella. And God damn it, because they came out of Orange County, they fucking gave that word, I feel like, to the rest of the country.
Hella good?
Hella, yeah.
Oh, yeah. What is that song? What's the hella
I think it's
song?
just hella good.
Oh,
It's
it
a
is.
song that would play downstairs in the lobby at E while they turn you away.
To be fair to that poor security guard of suspect nationality. I don't know what he is, but it's not a group that scores that high on the SATs. He has to sit there and watch
Americans from the South?
A test that is geared toward white people.
a loop of the Kardashian show. I mean, somewhere like
You would
probably
have to shut down. You would have to
You
shut
have
down
to
survive.
emotionally-
It's a survival mechanism.
Right. It's like if you're being raped repeatedly
literally-
by bikers, like at a certain point, you just have you're
You're going to start coming? Oh, no, I'm sorry. I guess I got that wrong.
You sit there and float above your almost
He
lifeless
has to
corpse.
watch the feed
Yeah,
from
I-
every E channel.
It's like
in the
there
world.
was a Madeline Stowe, Alan Rickman movie called Closet Land, where he just keeps trying
Right.
to torture her, and she keeps going to Closet Land. So that's what these guys are doing.
They're in
downstairs.
Closet Land.
They're in Closet Land.
And he probably measures his workday by, like, people go, how long's your shift? And he's like, 26 Kardashians.
The Kardashian is.
But if I get to 30, I get golden
It's
time.
just
National
it's a
standard
pop
measurement.
culture Clockwork Orange
Yeah.
situation where he's just the whole day having to take in all this. Input.
How much do you get? How much do you get an hour? Well, I get $12 a Kardashian, so whatever that adds up to
Actually,
be.
I think a Kardashian, the actual Kardashian unit, is an inversely proportional relationship to how famous can you get for doing very little. I think that's what the Kardashian
She
unit
did
is.
very little, but she took a whole lot.
She
that's
did.
the
Right.
big part.
Well,
of
you know,
it,
I
yeah.
guess I just can't keep up with them.
You
They're
gotta keep up
impossible
with
to
those
keep up with
Kardashians.
those Kardashians.
All you gotta do is bang Ray J.
Yep.
man.
You get me feeling
That's what I-
hella
I'm taking a
good,
lot.
so
That's
let's
what I
just
was-
keep.
No, I knew that.
Ray J's, he's got a show out
He does.
too, right?
Does he have an MTV show?
I believe so.
Getting a
yeah.
reality show is like a virus. If you just, if you fuck one other person with a reality show, you now have a
Oh,
reality show.
I got a reality. I went to
Yeah.
the doctor. He said I got a reality show.
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, they're like STDs now.
Now
Yeah,
no
we're
one will
gonna-
ever respect you.
Shit.
Yeah,
Everyone's
they will.
gonna know.
I mean, no, they won't. I mean, that's hella bad.
Everyone's gonna know. Yeah.
Yeah, Ray J's got one. She's got. Well, everyone's got one. Everyone in the family. I always feel sorry for her. That show should be called Pussy Whipped, starring Bruce Jenner, like not keeping up with the Kardashians.
That's actually Bruce Jenner. I thought someone built a Bruce Jenner-like android.
It was that Japanese guy that makes those weirdly
Those
almost
weird ones that
lifelike
look
ones.
very close.
Isn't he the lead though? Isn't he the one that has to keep up with the Kardashians? Isn't
Oh,
that
maybe
what it
he is the.
Yeah.
Oh, he's the chaser of
running
the
at the fast.
Kardashians.
Also ironic because he used to be very fast.
Yep.
He
yeah.
has a gold medal in, I guess, technically keeping up with the Kardashians.
I really hope that much thought didn't go into the name of that show.
I hope so. That would at least have a redeeming quality.
Yeah.
He was also very good at Circus of the Stars.
He was good at
Whenever he
Circus
would
of the
participate.
That's an
Stars.
awesome show.
Whenever he would participate. I wish they would bring
Hey,
that
if
back.
we resurrected the body and reanimated the body of Jim Thorpe, one of the greatest Native American athletes of all time, who also won the decathlon in like 30 something, and showed him Bruce Jenner, would he never stop vomiting? Like, here's another American who
think
won the decathlon.
I think he would be clamoring to get back into the earth.
Let me back into my tomb, or at least I have quiet. Yeah.
So you're doing your show's 5 days a week now. You're doing the podcast 5
Yes,
days a week.
5 days a week. Yes.
How is that schedule? I guess it's a lot better than when you were doing radio and getting up at fucking 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it is. I mean, a couple things are good about it. The flexibility, obviously, is, as you know, and you all know about doing a podcast, which is to say, you could do it at this time, but if your guest couldn't do it till that time, then you start at that time, and it's just that part of it makes it a lot easier. The not getting up, and just in general, the comedy. There's no. First off. Don't trust anyone who's funny at 5:57 in the morning. That you can only be so funny, and I don't trust a fucker that is funny at 5:57. It's just not a morning activity. There's no comedy club that opens before 8 p.m.
I always say comedy is a vampire. It thrives at night and it dies during the day. You cannot do comedy when it's light outside.
You can't, but I mean, there's a bunch of stuff. There's, brisket and brandy and all sorts of two Kardashians that are rarely brought up in the seldom seen in the series.
Kardashian's my favorite.
Brisket, she's hot.
She ranks pretty low on the Kardashian scale.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, everyone, we can agree that everyone loves everyone loves a cocktail, everyone loves everyone loves a porterhouse steak, everyone loves whatever you love, but nobody loves that at 5:45 in the morning. I mean, as much as I love prime rib as much as I would probably hate it at 5:45 in the morning, and as much as I love a Sam Adams, winter wheat ale, as much as I would hate it at 5:45. Well, the same thing goes for comedy.
Right.
It really, it's why cartoons, unless you're really high, don't seem great in prime time. But they seem to fit Woody Woodpecker's not annoying somehow at 7:15, but yet you would never watch it.
The only thing I like that early is more sleep. That's
Right, that's the only thing I want.
Yeah.
And like when you get up, you're pissed off, like you're irritated, like it's so funny. Like I would walk down into my kitchen every morning just alone. Like there is that thing where at 4:45 the world is asleep.
It's frozen.
Everybody in your house is asleep. The dog's asleep. The twins, the wife. Like it's just, and it's the only thing. There's no leaf blowers. There's no anything. Like you just sort of put your ear to the window, and it's like, it's the only time you ever hear that. But because you got up at 4:45, you're just angry about everything. And like I'd go down to the kitchen and be like, look at this. 2 yellow bowls, then a red bowl, then another yellow bowl. Who the fuck is stacking these bowls? Who stacks these bowls? What kind of maniac would do 2 red bowls, a yellow bowl, and then put another fucking... Such bullshit. And it's like, you're just irritated and fucking angry at everything. And then someone heats up a mic and you're supposed to be, doing a Heine wine bit or something. And
The Heine wine bit. Oh my God, I forgot.
You forgot about how funny Rick Dees was, didn't you?
That Heine wine bit spread like a fucking virus through the Midwest and the South.
But it's just, you're pissed. All you can think of is how angry you are that somebody got you up at that hour.
I just got re-pissed at the Heine winery bit, and it had been erased from my mental library.
Well, you should have been out.
I don't know it.
It's I'm not even sure what the joke was. I think it was just that it was called.
That's the joke.
Someone with a vineyard decided, like that was the buy of the bit.
I think
Heine wine. It was the fucking worst bit, and they just kept saying Heine over and over again because that was a dirty word in the 70s.
It was like if you just kept calling different hardware stores, although this would be funnier, and saying, "Do you have any black caulking?" And then you just went, so you have black caulk there? Yeah. And what would you do with the black caulk? And how big is the black caulking? And yeah.
But
it was
that's
like,
a real thing.
It's
like you can't be incredulous over a fake thing like Heine wine. They made it up and acted like it was something that was real and horrible.
Oh yeah, that's what it was. Oh yes, I remember it now. The jingle.
Yeah, you do.
Haunting my brain in the dark recesses. It was it's like Heine in the morning, Heine in the evening, Heine at supper time. If you give me your Heine and something that rhymes with
I can see why it was such a sensation.
It was.
Yeah.
It really was. It was like people.
That's how sad morning radio was.
You would literally in the South go places and hear people like, "You hear the Heine wine bit of this morning?" Like, yes.
Wow.
Well,
I don't belong here.
The sad thing about
Please extract me from your
radio and morning radio is, and it's so funny because I would travel, when I travel around now doing stand-up and I have to do some of these morning local whatever, in Kansas City or in Atlanta, they'll go like, "Hey man, Dingo Boy." And I'll go, "Dingo Boy?" And they'll go like, "Yeah, remember Dingo Boy?" And I'll go, kind of, but not really. And they'll go, "Used to do Dingo Boy." And I used to work for a syndicator where they would pay you $50 a bit, and you would do your own episodic whatever. I did Mr. Burcham, I did Dingo Boy, and then they'd pay you a couple $100, and then they would send them out to all these radio stations out. Usually in the middle of the country. I mean, it wasn't, it wasn't Kevin Bean or Howard Stern, but somewhere in the middle
of these poor brain dead bastards who are just clamoring for content to fill 4 hours in the morning.
It'd be like, well, we don't have, there's 5 minutes on a Friday we don't have to think about because we get the Dingo Boy and they'd do like now the Adventures of Dingo, but they would send this pre-packaged comedy out to them, and Heine wine was probably one of the bits. Although Heine radio has a lot of like Septembers and 2 for Tuesdays and stuff that just they all just rip off everyone else's horrible ideas.
Everyone.
February.
February.
Yeah.
I did morning radio in LA for like a year, and it almost killed me because it's just getting up at 3:30 in the morning. Because morning radio it's tricky because you think, oh, I just have to talk a little bit. It's not that big of a deal. But you really have to clamor to produce material. Like you have to think about it. And then there are post-show meetings. Like it ends up being what you think is just going to be like a 3-hour day ends up being like a 10-hour day.
What I'm actually really surprised about is the guy that's now doing Loveline, Psycho Mike. Mm-hmm. It's like he does Loveline at night. What time do you get off when you're doing Loveline?
Midnight,
and then he's on the Kevin and Bean show the next morning every day.
Yeah, that's
And what
brutal.
time do you have to be in there?
That's sort of optional for him, but it's probably between 5 and 5:30.
Yeah, because that's ridiculous.
I used to do the overnight shift at K-Rock, which bridged Loveline and Kevin and Bean. And so I did midnight to 5. I was taping singled out during the days and then going and working at K-Rock from midnight to 5.
Oh.
And then
Well,
you know how I used it. It was just like if I drank a couple beers and then chase it with coffee, I was totally wired.
Yeah.
I used to do Stern all the time when I used to like sit in for Artie or when Artie was out or before they hired Artie or whatever. I'd do it all the time, and I would do it East Coast time. So I would finish Loveline at midnight, and then I had to be ready to go on Stern at 3 a.m. And
that must have been a horrible 3 hours.
It was a horrible. There's a couple horrible things about it. One. And most horrible is it was Westwood 1 in Culver City that we did Loveline out of, and it was also Westwood 1 that we did Stern that I did Stern out of. So for some reason, driving back to the same place
For 2 hours, but you go home for like 2 hours.
Yeah. Half hour one way, half hour. Yeah, a little under 2 hours. And like people say a couple things, which is bad advice, but they'd go, "Why don't you just pull an all-nighter? Like, why don't you just stay up?" And I would always go, that would be fine if I had to get to 3 a.m., ring a bell, and then beat off and go to bed. But I don't have to do that. I have to go through. The show starts at 3 a.m., but it's going to go for 5 hours. So staying up all night is good if you can go to bed once you make it to 3, but it's not good 2.5 hours into the Stern show when you're falling asleep and the room is spinning around. So
You're in there by yourself, too, because...
I'd be in there by myself.
So which makes it even sleepier, I bet.
It's more surreal, and I would go home, and by the way, I couldn't immediately go to bed because I just got done doing a radio show. So
You feel like the fucking Omega Man. Like you feel you just feel like that there's literally no one else alive in the world, and you're isolated in this weird box as part of some weird Armageddon or experiment.
And I would have, at a certain point... So I would go home at 12:30. I would drink some red wine and watch some TV until probably for about an hour, about as fast as I could get to bed. So about 1:30. I'd sleep from 1:30 to 2:30, and then I would just jump in my car and hustle back to Culver City and start the show up. And at a certain point, because he used to go like 5 hours on that show, I'd have my head, but I was alone in an empty building in an empty room with my headphones on. And I'd just be sitting there with my headphones on, and, Robin would be doing the news, and she'd be doing some story out of Long Island where somebody tossed their kid into a dumpster or something. And I'd just be sort of sitting there, and at a certain point, I'd hear Howard Stern's voice go, "What do you think, Adam?" And I'd be like, "What? What happened? What's going on? I'm still working construction, right? Like, why?"
You snap out and go, "Who put the goddamn yellow dishes in with the red?"
It was weird. It'd be like I would drift off and just be listening to the Howard Stern show with headphones on.
Forgetting you were a part of it.
Forgetting I was on the show, yeah.
But now you get to do your show whenever you feel like it.
Yes.
And by the way, well done. I don't think you will ever get knocked off unless you quit your show. You have the fucking nut hold on that #1 spot of the comedy podcast, and that is a feat.
Well, thanks, and it is especially because of all the competition that is like yourselves, and
everyone's got a podcast now,
and you guys have climbed the ladder and held. See, the thing, I guess, that people don't realize, especially about like iTunes, especially like you can do a new podcast and get up there, but you'll quickly slough off like yesterday's eggs.
Yep,
Sure.
yesterday's
Eggs,
eggs.
commonly slough.
Yesterday's
Eggs do
egg.
slough.
They slough.
They slough, yeah.
So to just hang around.
Metaphor approved.
I'll give you that one.
And somewhere in the top 20, top 25, or even the top 50, just to hang there for now. How long have you been going at it, Chris? It's been a while, right?
Yeah, we started in February, so this is 9 months.
Right, more than a fluke at this point, so congratulations
Oh, thanks.
for that. But yeah, when I started, year and a whatever, I guess February will be 2 years for us. There wasn't anybody you recognize names floating around the podcast world. There's, Ricky Gervais, and those were like the only names that you recognize. And now there's just every comedian, every host, Anderson Cooper's got his own, whatever. Every Bill Maher after the show, they do their, it's insane. So the competition, and it's sort of like, I guess it's kind of relative, but it's like someone was telling me that, 1973, 1974, Johnny Carson had 17 million viewers a night. And
That will never happen again.
no, and also, the guy's a pioneer. You don't want to take anything away from him, although I always hear he was an asshole. But other than that, if he came back now, what percentage of the pie would Johnny Carson have wedged between Conan and
Well, he'd
Kimmel
be
and
on-
Fallon
I
and
would
Leno?
watch
And
that guy.
He'd be on Turner Classic Movies doing his
He
talk show.
would probably get 3 or 4 million. It'd probably be 3 or 4 million.
and that would be pretty good.
That would be pretty good. Yeah.
right.
With the way everything's
Considering
split.
That would beat Leno right now.
how the pie is being cut now with a cheese cutter. It is insane. So there's so much content out there that just it's weird, but it's like even in these late night show in that realm, it's not even about building audience. It's about hanging on to audience, because if George Lopez is going to start doing a show, and Chelsea Handler's going to start doing a show, and Conan O'Brien's going to start back doing a show, and everyone's going to start doing a show, Jimmy Fallon, just in the last 2 or 3 years, then if you were, 3 years ago, you had 2 million viewers, it wouldn't be about having 3 million today. It'd be about hanging on to the 2 million that Lopez and Jimmy Fallon didn't take.
I think it's important to have your very specific point of view and to be consistent, because I think most people, it's like the same, like I would hear when I first started doing comedy in LA many years ago,
Pull that mic in.
back before the Depression, the Second Great Depression, which is an accurate term now. Comics would some of the comics would complain and like, God damn it, these actors want to start doing comedy and they're taking up stage time. And I was like, let them, because they won't keep doing it. Like,
Right.
like 90% of the people will not stay consistent, because it's always fun to start something, but it is a fucking pain in the ass to stay consistent with something. And if you can stay in the game, you will be ahead of most of the people, because people will just drop off. These people who are all these podcasts, like half of them won't be doing their shows in a year. I don't think.
But if you look at it this way, not to punch a hole in your well thought out theory, but if half the people slough off, there's that word again,
Like eggs.
like eggs, but there's constantly a new crop of people who will slough off in 4 months.
God damn it!
And you will sort of have that gap filled. So there'll always be someone
ever
new and
have
always
to
someone
anything-
sloughing off.
Fuck! Oh, you're ruining it!
Sorry, man.
God
Yeah, it is.
I forgot about the slough equation.
Yeah.
Is slough measured in Kardashians? I feel like it should be.
Well, the good news is in my podcast, which aired, what day is it today?
This will go up tonight. I will put this up tonight.
In my podcast, which aired today, I did 20 minutes on the shaved head, Down syndrome stricken baboon who I just walked past to get to your podcast. So
Did you say hi to him?
I was scared that he might.
He's not a real baboon, Adam. You don't have to worry about
I'm just the guy's frightening.
Don't make eye
and
contact.
That's the whole thing. And I feel like these guys are sort of reptilian in their movement, which is no movement whatsoever. But then when they do move,
right.
they're on top of you.
No strike.
He must
Yeah.
be cold-blooded. That would explain why he was sunning himself on the rock.
rock, yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
have an internal temperature regulator.
Yeah, that's
so
I
they
love it when he
have,
pulls up one of
they-
his feet.
Yep.
It gets too hot.
Yeah.
They have to utilize the sun
Yes.
as a heating mechanism. I hate to. I'm about to throw someone under the bus who works for your show, and I apologize.
Go ahead.
It's been 6 months. Remember when we did the show together in Chicago at the comedy festival, which was super fun, by the way.
Yeah, I enjoy that.
Your show booker Mike booked me for your show in July. So the day before I'm supposed to go on, I email him and I go, "Hey, I'm coming in tomorrow. Where do I go?" And he was like, "Whoa, what are you talking about?"
Yeah.
And I go, "Well, you booked me a month ago, and
Right.
the date's tomorrow." And he never apologized. He just went, "Must have missed that one."
Yeah.
And then
Well,
so I
he's
had to
out
write
of
him
it.
back and be like, "Okay, can I come on again?" And he was like, "All right." So he gave me another date 6 weeks from then. And then I couldn't do it because I had to go out of town. So I was like, "Give me another one." Then he didn't write back.
Yeah.
He was getting
So
back at you.
I wrote him again, and then finally I got another date like 6 weeks ahead of that. And then a couple days before he canceled. And then they gave me another date, and a couple days before he canceled.
Yeah,
and then-
he's wildly inconsistent.
You're gonna fire him, right? Call him right now.
I don't want you to fire him. I
Call
just
him
want
right
you to
now.
punch him in the solar plexus. Look, I just need some evidence that some type of retribution.
If you saw the car he drove, you would feel very satisfied.
No, I feel bad shitting on him now because he's a genuinely cool dude. Like he's a really
He
sweet
paid
guy.
$370,000 for a condo that's worth about $140 right now. So there you go. We're even. Better than a punch in the solar plexus, right?
But he did buy a condo. So.
Yeah.
It's his own fault.
I don't want
Yeah.
him to have long-lasting umbrella-like pain that
Oh, you
shades
want
his
something
life with
quick.
sadness. I just want a quick stabbing pain that is over like that, and then we can hug about it and be like, "All right, it's over."
Yeah, well, don't be ashamed to feel like you're pursuing him because he's wildly inconsistent and will not ever get back to anybody.
So it's not me.
It's not you.
Oh, good.
Yeah, he's bad at what he does.
Good.
But we barely pay him, so it's like...
So what do you expect?
Well, I mean, there is that thing in life where I deal with this all the time where you have the 45-year-old guy who's the horrible carpenter who's always late, who does shitty work and blah, blah, blah. But you do have to say to yourself, there's a reason why this guy's 45 years of age and will come to my house for $12 an hour and work for the price of that and a liverwurst sandwich. I got the guy for the weekend. There's a reason why he's available, but that's the same reason why he's inconsistent and late and whatever it is.
And and truthfully, he is a sweet guy by all their accounts.
He is a nice guy.
He's a very nice guy. You just reminded me that a friend of mine in the '90s did a movie, this really low budget movie, and he wanted Norman Fell in it. And one of the ways he got Norman Fell to do the movie was Norman Fell wanted a knockwurst sandwich and a beer.
Really?
And he did it. And he paid him a little bit of money and got Norman Fell a knockwurst sandwich and some beer.
Damn.
And he got Mr. Roper.
What's the story with Furley? I mean, did he quit that gig?
You mean Roper?
Roper, sorry. Oh, Furley came in second. Yeah.
Furley was a serial killer who buried the Ropers under that apartment complex.
What? I mean, I know Suzanne Summers had some difficulty in her contract and eventually opted out of the show.
Right.
But what did Mr. Roper do?
They gave him a spin-off. They gave him a spin-off. They
gave
spun
him
the Ropers off.
Oh.
They spun off the Ropers with Jeffrey Tambor and a couple other people.
They did like 13 episodes, and then he was like, "Can I come back?" And they were like, "No."
And they
We
released
wrote
it. So
you
it
out.
was, the same thing. Like Henry Winkler was smart because they kept trying to spin Fonzie off into his own show, and he was like, "Why would I do that?
Right.
I am doing so well on this show. Why would I be stupid?" And it was a smart thing for him to do.
Yeah.
They spun all those fucking shows. Joni Loves Chachi.
Laverne Shirley.
Mork and Mindy was a
Mork and
spin-off.
Mindy was a
Sure.
spin-off.
Yeah.
Oh,
Even
I'm
all
happy
the All in the Family stuff. I mean, they got the
Archie's
Jeffersons and
Maude.
Archie's Place and Maude.
Yeah. Flo was spun off of Alice.
Was Flo spun off?
I think so.
spun off of Alice, right?
Yeah.
My
what-
grits, really?
Yeah.
Mary Tyler Moore
Well
show.
played.
What was that? Was it
Mary
off?
Tyler Moore
There's
spun off
Rhoda.
Phyllis.
And
Rhoda.
I
Lou Grant, which
Lou
was a
Grant.
drama.
Lou Grant was spun off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who the hell else?
And then Betty White is just a spin-off unto herself after all these years.
We're done with her, right?
I like to think. Well, we're almost done with it.
God might be. Soon.
I like to think that the Love Boat is spun off of Murray Slaughter's character. McCloud.
Sure.
That he quit the news business and captained a boat in his later years.
He was a weird. It was a funny character because Murray was such a sort of passive, sort of nice guy, sort of waify-ish, sort of a feminine guy, and then all of a sudden he turns into this staunch, hard-driven Captain Stubing
I never
guy.
understood Adam Bricker as like the boat cock. Like, how did Doc Bricker like nail like Bernie Capel? Like the guy was probably like 58 years old.
Right.
Glasses.
Right.
Like the fucking man shorts. Like how does that?
Did you ever nail Charo? Because she was on a lot.
TF'd her.
Probably.
The thing about finger blast.
Sorry.
Followed with a TF. The thing about Bricker. Well, first off, let's not forget he was in Get Smart.
Yes, he was excellent in Get Smart.
He was excellent in Get Smart. He was the head of chaos in Get Smart. But yeah, well, first off, those knee-high sanitary socks with the white nursing shoes. It's just hard to get laid in that outfit. But there was also this really skeezy, kind of weird, creepy thing where patients would come in to see him, and then he'd say, like, well, I had to ask her to disrobe. I am a doctor. It's like, really? Like this close to kind of roofie talk, you know? Like half his dates were chicks who came in to see him, and now they got dinner plans. And it's really...
The Love Boat physician has some questionable morals, is that what we're saying?
I'm saying I don't know if that would fly in today's society.
I think I ate a bad shrimp. Well, I better fuck your
You
tits.
better lie down.
Cocktail sauce.
I'm going to wash that aspirin down with a little cum.
All right, to be fair, it's a lot of cum. To be fair, it's a lot.
How good do you think the doctor would be on a Love Boat? Though, or what are you expecting, really?
As well as the
And also
dancers,
just the
but-
general premise of the staff hitting up on / date raping
Not
the
okay
folks
at all.
that showed up onto the boat. And Princess Cruises, like, hey, it's one big advertisement for being raped by the crew.
It's
Like,
called the
what?
Date Rape Collective.
Yep.
That's what that show should have been
Right,
called.
because every single chick that got onto that show was always like Isaac or Gopher or somebody. When Lola Falana would get on there, Isaac would go ape shit for it. Like, there are policies against the staff members trying to fuck everyone.
Not
that
on
goes
international waters, friend.
That's a good
Anything
point.
goes.
Yeah.
By the way, giant ship, like crew of 6.
Right.
Any other fucking crew members that are...
How do they find the time to fuck?
What am I, in a Seinfeld bit? I've just become evening at the Improv like 87. Where's the rest of the crew on the Love Boat, you
It
guys?
is true. Like,
It's like Star Trek. They only need
those ships have like 2,000 guests and 3,000 crew members on them, like normally. Although I went on a cruise with Jimmy Kimmel many years ago, and it was just the worst goddamn cruise on the planet. Our room needed to be sprayed for bugs because I woke up with some bites on me, and the
Bricker.
the stand-up, the comedy, the entertainment, the comedy. Geechee Guy,
Oh,
was
yes!
the comedian.
Yes.
Part of Geechee Guy's act, by the way, is that he has memorized the name of every single roller coaster in North America, and literally. You know that thing where you have a profound interest in something and you just assume everyone else has this wild interest in this? Yeah, I knit toaster cozies, so you're into that? You're pretty much what kind of yarn? You got to use a non-flammable yarn. I can tell you where to get. It's like, no, nobody's interested in your retarded hobby. And Geechee Guy's hobby, he's been on every roller coaster. So about halfway into his set, he just stopped, like, enough with the mirth, and he'd be like, all right, you toss out a roller coaster, I'll toss out the amusement park. And someone would be like, the Tornado Bandit. At Six Flags over Georgia, built in 1983. Capacity 122 souls. And everyone's sitting there and go, wow, he's right. He's right. And like, who gives a shit? Tell some more jokes, would you?
Who's going to get him on the capacity? You're wrong, fucker. It's 122.
Besides, before Google, you just say whatever the fuck you want at any time. So that was the entertainment. And then the other entertainment was they had karaoke night. And they ran... Here's how they ran karaoke night. Like, you would go up and you would like write down the song that you wanted. Like, you know, so Kimmel's picking some Huey Lewis song, right?
From the sports album?
Stuck with You or something. Yeah. So it's like
Stuck on You. Right? Stuck with You. I'm so happy
to be stuck with you. Whatever. He's picking some Huey Lewis thing.
Deep cuts.
And I'm picking some. And so the way they ran this karaoke night was totally insane because the guy'd be running it and he'd be like, all right, I need, it was before Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Kimmel, come on up here, Jimmy Kimmel. And like people would be like, all right. And then he'd come up and he'd be like, and you had Huey Lewis Stuck with You. I'm sorry, we don't have that one. And then Jimmy would go sit back down again. And then he'd go, all right, let's next. Chris Hardwick, what do you got over there? Some Uriah Heep? Come on up here. Come up here. Yeah, we don't have that. We don't have that. All right, sit down. Sit down now. No, we're good. Sit down.
Did he have the only book of the list or something like that?
Yes. It was weird.
That's a phenomenal
He kept
bit for a
calling
movie.
people up and then telling them to sit back down. After people applauded, Jimmy Kimmel, put your hands together for Jimmy Kimmel. Sorry, we don't have that one. We have to go sit down again.
To give him a little bit of a feeling of you're doing something.
That's as good as you're going to do. By the looks of you, that's as good as you're going to do.
I can't remember what we talked about the last time you were on the podcast, so I'm hesitant to bring things up because I feel like
It's been a while.
Did I ask him this already?
Go right ahead.
But I don't.
I got a book out.
Yeah, we definitely want to pimp your book. Did that come out this week or is it just?
It's been like 3 weeks, I think.
What is this? What's your book?
Oh, I say.
I want to know about your book.
It's really just me complaining. It's all it is.
About writing a book the entire time?
Yeah, those first
Writing
5
a book
chapters.
is the worst goddamn
now
thing
my
you could
hands
ever
hurt.
do with 4 months of your life.
4 months. Jeez, it's like almost a year. I mean, by the time you go back and forth and argue over everything.
Oh, shit. Don't tell me that. I have a deadline in 3 months.
It's a wild, wild amount of time. Yeah. Well, you can hand in your manuscript in 4 months, but it ain't over.
Right.
It's going back and forth and back and
Did you
forth.
really mean to use the article "the" here?
Yeah.
Or did you mean "an"?
That's the way it works.
This part comes off like a manifesto.
Yeah.
We don't want to...
All
Yeah,
I'm
it's-
saying is that
you
you need to
threatening us?
stockpile all of your sharp objects. So
Yeah.
what's the book? What is it called?
It's called "In 50 Years We'll All Be Chicks," and it's just me whining about society. And it's just, if it was essentially me taking all the shit that I complain about and putting it in some sort of order and putting it between a couple of hardbound
Just
copies.
like when Dennis
and,
Miller would publish his rants as a book.
Yeah, it's probably that. Although, it's got some about the author and a couple of stories and all that kind of stuff. And then it's just list of guys I couldn't hang out with and chapters on, politics and whatever. And it's just all the basic
Is this your first book?
complaints. Yes.
Oh, well, that makes sense. I can't believe it's your first book. It feels like something.
Well, I didn't know how to spell or
Okay.
type or anything, so I
That
thought
took a while.
No, I still don't. So, but I had someone do it for me. But I thought that was the main part about being a writer is the writing part of being a writer. I didn't know. Oh, you can have funny thoughts and give it to another guy who can spell, and then you can come out with a book. Like I never worked on it from that approach. And also, really honestly, my family's so horrible that they essentially just broke me of ever thinking that any thought I had would be worthy of sharing with anyone else. So no one ever said write that down, and thus I never did.
Don't carry a notebook.
That's what I was
the
told.
opposite of what-
Yes, don't write that down.
Don't retain this memory.
That's right.
But now
That's a bad one.
But I'm
I would do
sure-
every once in a while.
But it's amazing. I mean, you've managed to, you and Jimmy managed to craft these careers, starting with, really very small windows. I mean, most people don't most people don't break out of like second or third radio sidekick and then like turn into massive media multi-hyphenates. Like that's very rare that happens.
Well, thanks. It was, people always forget, or it's weird what your mind does. Like, when I met Jimmy, I just met Jimmy. I didn't know who Jimmy was, and Jimmy wasn't anybody, and he wasn't doing anything. And there's this weird sort of math, almost like when you're watching a movie, and it's an action movie, and, The Rock is getting his ass kicked at the middle of Act 1, but there's a part of you that knows, okay, he's going to catch up to the bad guys. He's going to get his girlfriend back. Yeah.
Sorry.
I was talking about the football movie.
Oh, okay.
I can't think of the name of that one right now, but or Escape to Witch Mountain or whatever it was. But there's a part of you that knows. Okay, like you just know you're sitting in theater. Okay, this is a little rough on The Rock now, but sure. he will exact his revenge. But life doesn't really work that way. Like, you could be getting the shit kicked out of you, and then you could get a hepatitis, and then get an infection from a blood transfusion and die in the hospital 2 days later. It's not like, well, in Act 3, Carolla's going to be on top. So, like, but they do apply that movie math. Like I met Jimmy Kimmel in 1994, and he was third banana at K-Rock, and I was swinging a hammer and living in La Crescenta, but we both looked at each other and went, oh, yeah.
That's when they knew.
By Act 3, we're both going to be on top of the game.
Freeze frame montage, right. Success montage.
Right, and like we got called into our program director's office, and he was yelling at us, and we were both like, yeah, keep talking.
For not 1 second did we fear losing our jobs, because we knew.
No, you don't know anything. You don't know anything, and they don't. And by the way, neither does anyone else. Like, I wanted to do a radio show. Actually, somebody wanted me to do a radio show at KLSX. And I was like, oh, well, how about I do it with my buddy Jimmy Kimmel? We'll do it together. Because as anyone knows, talking to yourself, not nearly as fun as talking to somebody else. So I said, how about we get Jimmy? And they're like, yeah, he's a behind-the-scenes guy. He's not, he's not, in front of the mic. He's a better producer than he is a talent. And actually, just going back to literally across the street from where we are now and back about 2-3 years when I was doing my radio show, my terrestrial radio show, we used to have Joel McHale in every Friday, and he'd bring in his clips from the soup, and Jack Silver, our program director, would be like, we'd have he'd weigh in at a little post-mortem meeting on Fridays, and he'd be like, do we need McHale in every Friday? I mean, what if we just had him in once a month? Feel like it's getting a little tired. And it's like, all right, now the guy's got a television stars on NBC. He's still doing the soup, except for he's doing a shitload of features, and he's selling out Carnegie Hall. And I'd go ahead and call Joel McHale a pretty big star these days.
Yeah.
And the other guy that Jack Silver wasn't a particular fan of was Zach Galifianakis.
Uh-huh.
And he's the other guy who was radio death, according to Jack Silver.
That's the thing about radio is that most of the time you need to listen to program directors and do the opposite of what they say. Radio is a very insulated medium.
Right.
And they have very bizarre,
taste.
baffling.
Oh, Ricky Rackman was going to be a huge star. And Danny Bonaducci has it. And it's like, and here's the thing I want to say, and I don't know where you guys come down on this, but I sat in a room 100 yards from where we're sitting right now and had Jack Silver explain to me in no uncertain terms that Joel McHale didn't need to come in on a weekly basis and that Zach Galifianakis was radio death. And that, depending on who you talk to, can get converted into me throwing Jack Silver under the bus. But my point is I'm merely a newspaper that's printing the fucking facts. And if a fucking jumbo jet runs into Mount Fuji, I didn't run it into Mount Fuji if I report, hey, this is what happened. And I can't stand everyone going, hey, man, leave him alone. Well, hey, man, leave him alone. That's how these guys keep their jobs. That's how they keep falling up. Somebody needs to say, I was in the room when so-and-so said Jimmy Kimmel not a talent, and Zach Galifianakis shouldn't be on the radio show, and Joel McHale shouldn't be on the radio show. That guy's name was Jack Silver. He did a horrible job.
He lives at
doing
27
his
Florida
job,
Crestwood
and
Terrace.
I'm merely reporting what happened. That's all.
So you guys still hang out?
I like the guy, but look, he's not good at his fucking job. If he listens to Joel McHale bringing in his clips, his clip soups, or soup clips,
soups.
his
Just
soup
his different
clips, his
samples
soup
of
clips,
soup.
his samples of soup, and he does not like that on a Friday regular basis. And he wants to replace it with the Wing Bowl, which was huge in Philly. Then he's shitty at his job.
Well, I remember when I worked at K-Rock, the program director there, who I genuinely liked a lot. I mean, like, the guy gave me a job based on no experience. He put me on the air after doing one thing on the Kevin and Bean show, and I
Sure.
genuinely liked him, and he taught me how to do radio.
Sure.
But the thing that was always baffling to me is that he would never put me on days. Now, granted, maybe I wasn't awesome at my job, that's fine. But the point of the matter is, I was like, look, I'm on MTV like 4 times a day. Like,
Yeah.
you could see the potential
Sure.
for this kind of cross-promotion, and he would look me dead in the eye and go, no one gives a shit. No one who listens to the radio cares about
They have
television. I'm like,
tons of
of
rules.
course they do!
They have tons of retarded rules and tons of dogma, and they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And
They
of course
honestly
they
think
do.
radio is the only medium.
They're fucking stupid. I mean, they're just stupid, pure and simple. I mean, I would tell them all the time, hey, why don't you go check out a Groundlings show? It's up the street, and you can find young people that are talented, and they do all kinds of voices, and they would work for nothing. And they'd go, what are the groundhogs? And I'd go, it's the Groundlings. And they'd go, well, what is it? I go, it's improvisational comedy. And they'd go, oh, so it's at the Improv? And I'd go, no, it's at... And I used to beg them all. And then like 6 months later, I'd go, did you check out any of those Groundling or Acme shows? They'd be like, no. And it's just like, they're just fucking dumb, and
There's
they're
no excuse
insulated.
in Los Angeles because there are a fucking million comedians in Los Angeles.
They don't fucking know what the fuck they're doing. And listen, the only note I ever got from Kevin Weatherly, who's the program director you're talking about, and again, I'm just fucking reporting the news here, is the only consistent note I ever got from the best program director in the United States was roll calls. Don't talk so much. And the only thing, well, first off, how's Loveline doing now, everybody? Because now they're rolling calls. How they doing with the rolled calls? You're a genius. Everyone's a genius. How's it going? What happened? What happened to the guy who talked too long? What happened? How come your fucking math theorem didn't work out? That's all the only note I ever got in over 10 years is roll calls, more calls, more calls. I always ignored it. I always just talked my ass off, and people seemed to enjoy that. And the guy before me rolled calls, and the guys after me rolled calls, but how was it going before me, and how's it going after me? And I don't want to sound like a pompous dick, but Jesus Christ, the fuck? And obviously you guys don't know what the fuck you're talking about, or you wouldn't be saying the same thing to the same people. The thing that's wrong with radio is Jack Silver and Kevin Weatherly will say the exact same thing to me or Chris as they would to Booger Man or Ricky Rackman. And we're not the same fucking talent. And we're not the same.
Trained me on the board.
Oh, that's real? That's a real
Booger Man was a real guy.
Oh, shit.
He had this crazy van that said Booger Man on it. It had all this stuff
Of
painted
course
on it.
he
I
and
thought
stuck
that
to
was
it.
just Adam, like, just like, I don't know,
No,
some
he
like
was a
Booger Man.
He
or
was a
something.
real dude. He taught me how to run the board.
Wow.
At
Later
at
on, he
K-Rock.
choked Jimmy.
He did choke Jimmy.
Yeah.
Yes, because Booger Man, this guy Booger Man,
Stop calling him that.
the Booger Man.
That's his name.
Well,
Jonah.
Sorry.
I
no one would
sounds like
recognize
Burns.
Gerald.
He got it. He got some sort of penis enlargement, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I think and Jimmy kind of made fun of it.
He got the fat injected.
He got the fat injected in his penis. And the thing was, it wasn't a secret. I think he talked about it pretty liberally. Like, he was one of those guys that was like, my life's an open book. But then Jimmy, I think, and I'm probably misremembering
You're
this.
not going to be that far off.
But-
you already,
but
you already
Jimmy-
got 3/4 of the cock.
Jimmy made fun of it somehow, and then like he came the next day, he choked him
He,
With
to
his
death.
dick?
He killed
With-
Jimmy Kimmel.
With his dick?
Jimmy Kimmel has been dead by Booger Man's fat injected cock
That's what he got it
for
for.
15 years.
he got the fat injected into his cock. And
Open book.
open book.
So you're
And
going to inject fat into my cock. You're going to take fat out of another part of my body and put it where it's not meant to be in my cock stalk.
Yeah, that's what I want my dick to look like, unhealthy and like it doesn't get any exercise.
yeah,
Now I need to get liposuction on my dick because it's weirdly knobby.
your cock's cholesterol's through the roof, and not the good kind either.
Are my cock's tits too saggy?
That's your balls are supposed to be.
Oh, my
Listen,
dick tits.
your cock's got to quit smoking and get on a treadmill.
Earning the explicit tag.
Chronic lower shaft pain now. It's really.
There's an indentation in my balls where my cock just
It's the way I
sits all
sit,
day.
right? It's the way of sitting.
Nacho cheese.
The now, and by the way, those girdle rubbers aren't fooling
They're not
anyone.
working.
They're not working.
Well, because I put the shirt on over, and I just
No,
figured no one would notice,
no.
and they just think there's a slimmer, younger cock.
No.
All right.
So what happened was is
Looks like William
Jimmy
Shatner in the late Star Trek movies.
Jimmy started talking about the injection in Boogerman's cock. Injections. But I think what happened is Jimmy somehow
Boogerman's cock was my
avatar.
Was that your college jam band name?
I was gonna say Green Jello, and then I had a brain fart because I was like, no, Jello made him change their name to Green Jelly. This isn't gonna work as a bit.
So I think Jimmy on the air spoke about his girlfriend. Boogerman's girlfriend, and maybe how she might
Booger
benefit
lady?
from it.
Oh.
Booger girl, yeah, right. So I think he took umbrage to that, even though he didn't use that word.
No.
Yeah, Boogerman would never use the word umbrage.
So during the
take it.
show, he literally burst into the studio and started choking. Like it was a weird turn of the century move. Like not today's new octagon-y kind of throwdown kind of punch. It was like strangling that, like just weird sort of vampire movie kind of like choking.
So we put down his
Jimmy.
triangle weights and then he went over.
Yeah, I was standing right.
Just for death. That's not to like scare somebody. That's just to kill. Right?
Yeah, I was standing right there while he was like literally choking Jimmy in Frank's office, producer Frank's office. But all I'm saying is, upshot, whether you're the aforementioned Weatherly or Silver, assess the talent like you should be doing, and then build the show or focus on the strengths and or weaknesses of that talent. Me doing the wing bowl because it's huge in Philly, Jack Silver's not a great plan.
Right.
And me rolling phone calls as fast as I can so that people don't find out I'm a fraud who can't string together a fucking sentence is not a great idea, Weatherly. I know you have rules in place to protect essentially your people from being found out as frauds.
Right.
But if you don't have a fraud on your hands, why do it? And thank Christ, like my fondest memory of radio would be never listening to a word these guys ever told me. Weatherly would say roll calls, and I'd say gotcha, boss, and then the next day I'd take 2 calls in an hour, and then 1 call the second hour.
Play the Heine Wine bit and then get out.
Do the Heine Wine bit and Dingo Boy.
Boy
And
comes in.
that's why everyone liked the show. And if I'd taken, if I'd limited myself to 2 minutes a call like they wanted, or taken 17 calls an hour, it would have not been the show that it was.
Mm-hmm. Well, so now what's so great about podcasting is just because you look at radio, and I just feel so bad. Like when I go do stand-up and I go do morning radio in these markets, and I just feel so bad for so many of these guys because
Oh
I just
my
feel like, because you can
God.
just see the fear in their eyes, like clinging to this sinking ship.
I did a show when I was in Houston, morning radio, and yeah, you feel horrible for all these guys. And although you don't when you meet them because they're fat guys in hockey jerseys or like shaved heads, it's like, hey, welcome back to Ass Crack and Back Sack in the morning. 8:22 after
They
7.
really have aged like radio. Radio is the medium that used to get a lot of pussy, and now it's just a fat, balding uncle in
Right,
Jersey.
scary.
Like as a medium, it's that.
But I said, so what's the deal? I said, we coming back when the song ends? Because I could hear the song in my headphones. And they're like, no, we can start anytime. And I said, we have to wait till the song ends? And they're like, oh, no, we're just going to tape this. And I said, oh, why are we taping it? And they said, program director said we have to tape all the interviews. And I said, really have to? That sounds like a lot of work, like taping. Well, we have to tape them because we have to edit them down. And I said, you have to edit, you have to tape, pre-tape, and then edit down it's pretty easy with the computer now. It's no big deal when I have to cut tape or anything. And I said, well, but I don't know, creatively. And he's like, well, he wants us to do it that way because he doesn't want them to be longer than a song. So I'm like, so you're going to take my 9-minute interview and we're going to whack it down to 2 minutes and 47 seconds because the program director has declared that it A, has to be pre-taped, and B, needs to then be edited down. Sure. And I thought, wow, we're living in a horrible time. And then I realized these are another one of these decrees that program directors make. Basically, here's what program directors do. Here's the approach that they basically show up. They're sort of like going, look, I run a strip club with the world's ugliest stripper. So here's what I'm going to do. Lights down low, music pumping. I'm going to have I'm going to have all sorts of spotlights flying around. Move around that pole. Don't ever slow down for a second, and don't ever look anyone in the eye, and don't ever stop long enough for anyone to ever focus on you, because they're going to find out you're pockmarked and covered with stretch marks, and they're not going to want anything to do with you.
You have to remain a blur.
You have to remain a blur. So keep giving the time out. And even if you're giving the time one direction, like if you said 8:16, then go ahead and say 16 after the hour, and then go ahead and say 44 away from the top. Keep moving, people, or we're going to find out you're fat with a C-section scar. And
your ass looks like it got caught in a hailstorm. Keep moving.
Right, keep moving. Ooh. But what would happen is if Gisele Bündchen showed up and said, I would like to start stripping at Star Garden, the guy'd go, all right, crank up the music and keep your ass moving. And Gisele would go like, but I'm hot. Da, 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 da. We got rules.
There's no case-by-case basis. Every morning show you go to, they all have some sort of a, oh yeah, well, they're making us do this now. And then whatever the insane decree is that they have to follow because everyone's freaking out.
Here's the reality. I mean, sad, but true. For the most part, the program directors are right, because if you had a person that was blessed with talent, not that the Booger Man or Ricky Rackman isn't, but if Ricky Rackman was Jon Stewart, then Ricky Rackman would say, fuck that, I'm doing my own talk show on Comedy Central, and he would do it. Or fuck that, I'm writing a book. Or fuck that, I'm doing a sitcom. Or fuck that, I'm making a feature. Or fuck that, I'm doing whatever. But they know, where you going, fatty with the dimpled ass? Back to your 6 kids and the old man who's been beating the shit out of you with a slipper and putting Tipperillos out on your vagina?
That's a surprisingly consistent description. They all have that.
Where are you going, fatty? That's the same guys running the strip club is the same guys running the radio station, and it's true.
Where are all these radio guys going to go, do you think?
They're going nowhere. They're going nowhere. I mean, you think, oh yeah, Tom Leykis is going to be doing television. He's going to be doing late night television, or where are any of these guys? They don't go anywhere.
Wandering outside the Grove, like, just somebody tell me to blow them up. I just need to blow up somebody.
No, they're not. They're all
doesn't work anymore.
They're fucking marginal talents, and they're not like going anywhere.
The Western Union Morse code operators are like, oh shit,
we're out of a gig. No, that's it. They're not going anywhere, and the program directors know they're being overcompensated for doing almost nothing. And again, what is the option for the fat, bald guy who the camera hates and who's not very charismatic? And I'm not necessarily talking about Leykis here, but and what are your options? I mean, what are your options creatively?
I guess podcasting.
You can start a vineyard, but what are your options? You think you're going to do a syndicated show? You think Sony's going to sign you up? Oh, yeah, let's do daytimes.
I don't know. Have you figured out, this might be a private question, have you figured out how to monetize your show? We've had many conversations about this, and it's always fascinating to talk to you about it.
The word is yes.
Because okay, good.
Yeah, we're making a lot of money.
Really?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Sell commercials.
We haven't done that. Are you actually getting good commercials, or because we get offered like really, like early adoptery stuff, like tech support for your company. We'll provide tech support infrastructure for your startup.
Right.
I mean, like, you're probably getting.
Well, Hickory Lube is a company that's been around. It's a personal lube that smells like a barbecue. It's been around for a number. No,
Hickory Lube was my.
write that down, because if you got a personal lubricant that smelled like barbecue sauce, I think you're on to
Speaking
something.
of the South,
No, we have, GoToMeeting and ProFlowers and all the. No, we don't even have that.
No.
And we have all the good ones.
That's
sounds like
great.
adults listen to your show. That's
Well, no, it's a pretty simple equation as I think about it. I mean, a lot of people, I think, are too up in their heads about it, or they're trying to reinvent something here. It's as old as time, or as old as the first soap commercial,
As old
which
as the
is
DuPont network.
Yeah, it's as old as that. I mean, you get a certain amount of ears or eyes on your product, and then you can sell commercials.
Hopefully people are trying to watch our podcast and just getting really frustrated.
But you can have a TV show, or you can have a blimp. I mean, if one of us owned a dirigible, and I'm going to talk to you after the show.
An old-timey dirigible. Sir, I will race you around the world in my
Any day.
balloon.
No, if you have a fucking dirigible with some big LED readout thing, and you say you're going to fly it over the Rose Bowl when there's 110,000 people in that place, and I can put, your company name here, then that's going to be worth something. Wherever there are eyeballs. I mean, that's the difference between having a billboard on a crowded intersection or having one in your backyard that crows shit on, If you have a billboard, it's worth something. If you have a dirigible, it's worth something. If you have a TV show, it's worth something. Everyone gets caught up in the modality. It's not really the modality. How many eyeballs pass that intersection? How many eyeballs watched that TV show? How many ears? What's the difference between a terrestrial radio show and a podcast? If you
Very little at this point.
At this point. At any point. If you had, if I said I can get a couple 100,000 people into my living room, and I'll talk to them on a daily basis, and I will work your product in for a minute, then I'd get paid the same as if they were listening in their car or listening at home, where have you. So the point is this. Your job is to get together as large a group of ears as you possibly can. And
we take away the wrong lesson and we go out and spend all our money to buy a blimp
Ears.
That's the hard part.
full of ears.
But no,
Seriously.
seriously.
I listen to every fourth word. I think that's my problem.
Well, part of the thing would be maybe you should take some money, rent the guy's blimp, saying, listen to the Nerdist podcast, and that would get you X amount of. I mean,
Let's
we're
start
thinking about
advertising
that.
our show on our show.
That's a great idea, because then everyone who's listening to the show would tune in.
To the show.
To the show.
Exactly.
Up
It'd be
top.
like a snake eating its tail.
Yep.
So we have X amount. I mean, I'm sorry to go all serious on everyone here, but
That's okay.
There's no riddle or puzzle. It's if you have 20,000 listeners on a daily basis, then you can get a company to give you a smallish amount of money to do X amount of advertising with your 20,000.
Sure.
And if you have 100,000, then you can get more money out of that same company, and so on and so forth. And that's all it is. And the companies were not really down with this 8 months ago or a year ago, but they're down with it now, and they see results. And, we do it with ProFlowers. You get ProFlowers to come on board. You do the $19.99 bouquet. They give you...
Will they deliver those to your house?
Within 2 working days with guaranteed freshness up to a week. And
Now, wait a
free
minute. Can I get
glass
any kind of
vase.
flower I want? What if I want white roses?
Chris, we're not getting paid for this.
Oh, shit, I'm doing it wrong.
Right.
I'm no good.
Hang on. Is there a coupon code?
They'll share... You mention Ace when you check out.
I don't know if I even give a shit about advertising. I'm just fascinated by the whole concept, because it's like just the
Me
sort
too.
of
What
emerging.
What is
Guy who
different
just had his
though?
car
But
ruined.
what's different about
Still not
this?
back.
There's in this same building, or literally across the walkway, there are 80 radio stations.
Yeah, they're all Spanish though.
Right. What is the difference between them and you.
I don't speak Spanish.
Other than the obvious. I mean, really, there's no difference. You get X amount of people listening to your show. You have to be able to prove that.
Yeah.
And then you sell advertising. Or you do a rev share thing where it's like, all right, for every ProFlower $19.99 bouquet we sell, we get $10. And that's it.
Oh, that's a good deal.
That's a pretty good deal.
Let's take that one. 50%.
Yeah. But you have to then get people, like the radio station gets people to go out and advertise and go drum up advertising and, salespeople and so on and so forth. Right. Now, but other than that,
So much work.
What's the difference?
Let's just keep doing it for free, right, guys?
Right, I'm fine with it.
Poor Matt. Oh, God. They stole my jeans. They're the only pair of long pants I had.
They were literally.
I used to wear shorts to Boston. Matt Myra, 1 week ago.
Yeah. You would already do it, though.
You're not doing your audience a disservice by running the commercials because it then enables you to run 5 days a week, get upgrades and equipment and staff and whatever it is, and your product actually gets a
Are you trying
little
to
This portion of Nerdist Podcast is brought to you by Stumpy's Cockfat.
Stumpy's not bad.
Also,
You
Hickory
get it.
Lube.
Hickory Lube.
The cool taste of hickory with the slick feeling of lube.
Try them both together for the first time.
Hickory Lube was the name of the team in Hoosiers. I think that played them in the playoffs.
Get in there
Hickory
and barbecue that ass.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. I mean, yeah, it is. Yeah, you do. That's
Makers of
awesome.
ranch dressing, ass shaving cream. So your pool? Where did that word come from? Brain not working. Your book is out now. I assume people can get it on Amazon. They can probably listen to your podcast. They can probably
Yeah, you can get it Barnes and Noble or whatever the what's the other big one?
Borders.
Borders, Barnes and Noble,
Did you do an
wherever.
audiobook
wherever.
version of it?
Yeah, it's on the New York Times bestseller list, by
Of
the
course
way,
it
which is insane.
You have an enormous following, and it's,
God love 'em.
It's fascinating to watch. I mean, you have pioneered. There certainly were a few podcasters before, but you seem to have perfected it in a very
thanks.
good way.
Well, we still got a lot of work to do, but it's been a work in progress, and it's been fun, and that's the whole thing. I've been enjoying it. And I hope you guys are enjoying this more than what you would have been doing. Although, you got to get paid. But what's the book, huh?
Your book. You wrote a book.
Yes. Oh, I wrote a book. Yeah.
50 years.
We'll all be chicks.
Yeah, it's going real good. I
I wish it was a
cannot
real
complain about it.
science book about genes and why we're all going to be women.
It'd be like
Yeah.
the Why the Last Man comic book.
Oh, there you go.
Or it means that we will devolve and go back into chicken embryo state.
I'm into it.
Where we all
Can I still get
I
fat
lose my
deposited
dick,
in my
Mac.
cock?
Yes, you can still get a fat.
Fat. Did you guys know that when Jimmy and I once did some thing about a penis enlargement thing on the Man Show, and they did this thing where we went to a doctor who did penis enlargements, and there's a few ways to do it. There's a sort of way to do it through vacuum, which you just have to walk around, and there's another way to do it with weights.
Ugh.
And there's another way to do it where they snip this tendon that goes down there, and it sort of
I don't
releases
need the word
something.
snip. Can they scare it and then it just gets really big and frightened,
Like a tendon they snip, so it's just
so it hangs longer?
like you have like reserve dick inside your body just in case.
Yeah, I mean, it's
You got a
sort
little
of.
slack.
Yeah.
I would look at it. I was always thinking of it as sort of like a mailbox where 3 foot of the post is hanging out of the ground, but there's another 1.5 feet that's in the
Oh, yeah,
ground.
yeah.
And you could probably pull out 6 inches of that, but it might tip over easily if a wind kicked up. But so they said, but they also inject the fat, or they like graft on the And I said, well, where do you get that tissue? And he's like, cadavers. And I'm like, cadaver tissue? And he's like, yeah. And I said, well, where do you get that? And he's like, well, when you sign up to be a donor on your driver's license, that's where we get it. And I'm like, I signed up to give some kid the gift of sight, not to give some Iranian guy more girth. Like, what the fuck?
Hey, bro, Adam Carolla's cock.
Yes. Yes.
The Iceman. I got the Iceman's cock.
It's just like him being fucked by dementia.
I've been holding off on going for the donor thing. I'm doing it now. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Are you turning the corner
What
now?
if it's
Nerdist
a
podcast
convict's
is next to be a cock donor.
like the movie Body Parts, and then all
Yeah.
of a sudden you just start raping people?
Sure.
Give someone the gift of
Plausible.
a cock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you put that little donor sticker on there, that's what you're doing. By the way, shouldn't cops cut you a break? Like I'm not saying you leading them on a, tri-state chase, but if they see that driver's license with the donor sticker and all you did was roll through a right-hand red when there was no traffic coming, you know what I mean? How about you cut? I mean, how about they do that? I mean, here's what I'm saying. People need incentive, right? Mm-hmm. Like we're good. Here's how we are as human beings. We will recycle if you put a recycling bin at the outside of the movie theater or the fast food joint or wherever we're leaving.
We won't take 3 steps it has to be right there.
But if I got to walk it down to the dump or carry it's going into the trash, right? It's not. So we will do the right thing as long as the right thing is easy, but if there's nothing in it for us, we won't. And the donor thing is something we keep trying to get people to get on board with, but they don't seem to do it. And we do these PSAs, like, come on, and they don't do it.
I work in a funeral home, and I know what they come back like.
Right.
Oh, yes.
But how about this? How about you put the donor sticker on your driver's license, and the first sort of non-dangerous, moving violation you get, I don't mean driving through a preschool, but, doing 78 in a 65 or something. Like,
what about expired tags?
Expired tags, no front license plate. We see that donor sticker, the cop sees it, you'll get the first one free. We'll give you a pass on that one. How many more people go into the DMV would sign up at that point for it? And what's wrong with that? Like, what's the downside? Well, people are going to be becoming donors and then killing people on the highway.
Sir, I had no idea you were a selfless hero. Go on your way. Go on your way.
You're trying to give people incentive to be donors. Why not a little incentive?
I agree 112%.
It's impossible.
I got the extra 12% from Cadaver's cock.
That's possible.
I like the part where dumb people go, you know what? I used to disagree with Chris, but I've come around 360.
Oh, so you're right back to disagreeing still.
No, I made a 360.
No, that's a complete circle.
I used to disagree.
No, there are 360
I was the opposite of this guy, and but lately I came around 360 degrees.
You went 180.
I'm agreeing with you, dude.
So you hate me
I came
now.
around
You hate me
360
before,
degrees
you still hate me.
on Chris. I didn't like him before, but now I'm in a totally different place. I'm 360 degrees away from where I was
with
before.
The guy who is running the door at E.
I've totally come around.
Hey, he has to validate my parking.
We will get your parking validated for your rental car. We're at the end of our time. Adam Carolla, thank you so much for coming back on.
Always a pleasure.
As I have said, you and I have been friends for 15 years, I think, and it's just nice to. It's always nice to have friends and that you've been friends for a long time. And you watch them do well, and you watch them do things that kind of inspire you and drive you. And so I've enjoyed being your friend all these years, and now we're going to take your life.
Thank you.
Also,
finger blast.
If people haven't seen it, if they're not familiar with it, The Hammer, they should check out.
They absolutely should check out The Hammer, the Adam Carolla film, the boxing film, The Hammer.
Thanks.
Get it on Amazon. I bet when you buy his book, people also
probably can get it on Prime, Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Let me say this quickly. Amazon, first off, you can buy my book new for $11.99 or used for $11.99, which is always like, how low does your self-esteem have to be that you go, it's the same price, but I'm going used. And then who owned it before? Steve McQueen? Like, it's not like somebody owned it. It's just used. And the worst thing ever, the day it came out on a Tuesday about 3 weeks ago, I got on the computer and I checked Amazon, like, where's our ranking? We were top 20 on the bestseller list. And then I said, let's see how we're doing with the reviews. 5 stars. I was like, oh, awesome. And then I scrolled down. It was like 25 new, 4 used.
Oh, shit.
4 hours after it came out, there was 4. How's it physically possible?
Speed readers.
Got it. UPS guy.
Got it. Sell it.
But does he say to the UPS guy, hold up, come back. I'm done. I'm done. Take it back.
Ship this out.
Take it back. I need my $4 back from Amazon. It is now. It's done. I'm done reading it. I know all I need to know.
Buy it new.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, guys. You want to say it?
Enjoy your burrito.
You don't even do the catchphrase right anymore, Jonah. And it's not even that old a catchphrase.
Enjoy the burrito. You can take it out and you can redo it.
I am not enjoying this burrito.
That's what he wants to do.
Woke up in an alley from a not so solid night. My dog and tattoo burning in the morning light. Coming off tequila and a cocaine trip. Cause that's the only snow that's falling on the Sunset Strip. Looked up at the paper, it was Christmas Day. Stumbled to my house not very far away. When I saw that jolly fat man, I just had to say, put that crappy sweater back upon your sleigh. Don't give me presents and keep your cheer. I'll tell you what I really want this year. All I want for Christmas is to rock, rock all night long. All I want for Christmas is to rock, rock all night long. Oh come on, you sexy, let me light your advent wreath. I got a ceiling full of mistletoe and heaven underneath. Santa Claus is coming, girl, and so am I. Take off your Christmas stocking now and don't be shy. I'll lay you down and fire up my Yuletide log. So take another sip of my creamy nog. Deck the halls with titties hanging from my walls, while I decorate your Christmas balls with my Christmas balls. Don't give me presents and keep your cheer. I'll tell you what I really want this year. All I want for Christmas is to rock, rock all night long. All I want for Christmas is to rock, rock all night long. Let me take off my Christmas robe, sit on my lap and grind on my North Pole. You are a very naughty girl. Are those presents for me? I got a Rubik's Cube, a jar of lube, a VCR, a gold guitar, some leather pants and ganja plants, cigarettes and penthouse pets, a private jet, a red Corvette, a flaming sword and leaderboard, the color black, a fanny pack, a horse for polo. Just give me a guitar solo. Are you ready for my fat man to slide down your chimney? Ho, 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 ho. All I want for Christmas is to rock, rock all night long. All I want for Christmas is to rock, rock all night long. All I want for Christmas is to rock. 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 All I want for Christmas is to rock, rock Gotta open up your box now, baby.
Now leaving Nerdist.com.